What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from Namaste Gaming, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Nightmares Within patch. I managed to jump in and actually get some playtime with the new update, and there's a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. First off, just a couple of bro tips. When you log in, you're going to have a piece of mail. Make sure to grab the 3 key fragments out of there. It's nice to have some sort of incentive to go in there for the first time, and what better incentive is there than sweet, sweet mystery loot. Once you get into the tower, you'll notice that you have to speak to an NPC to get into the actual killing stuff in a dungeon part of the tower. Do yourself a favor. Wait for there to be a few people. Well, you can sort of hop, skip, and dance your way through the trash on each floor if you absolutely must. The bosses will ruin your day pretty much instantly, and the last gauntlet before the main chamber is pretty much purpose-built from the ground up to stymie solo players, so grab a group or tag along with a mini-zerg if you want to actually like this content. Speaking of liking it, what would a first impressions video be without some actual first impressions? My first impression right now is that I like it. It's not anywhere close to what I was dreaming of. You guys who watched the last video may have remembered that I was hoping for a procedurally generated dungeon, but I knew that was a huge reach even when I suggested it. What I like about it, what it reminds me of the most, is back in the days of vanilla WoW, when instances like Maradon and Blackrock Spire needed a group just to get into the dungeon with any degree of certainty. That feeling of going to meet up with a group and running into another few players on their way in, forming a sort of impromptu party in the interest of mutual survival, man, that was a really big part of what made MMOs cool to me back then, and seeing the modernization of that concept in Guild Wars 2 is pretty damn cool. It's not perfect, for sure. There seem to be quite a few parts where the difficulty curve goes from easy to lol you're dead with no real warning, meaning there's not so much a learning curve as there is just a sort of underlying hope that the players around you are cool enough to res you when you get spiked from 100 to 0 before you can even react. This is definitely a case where you want to set the example by resing anyone who goes down around you and hope they return the favor, because getting behind seems to often mean waiting for the next group, and depending on your server's population and distribution, that might be a while. The actual design of the dungeon is great, lots of nooks and crannies to explore and a lot to do assuming you have a group to support it. The events seem fairly reasonable, and the nightmare chambers are actually decently challenging and offer an acceptable reward for the time and effort. And while the storyline of the one I did wasn't anything special really, just kinda, here's some hallucinations, better get rid of these things, I really enjoyed the experience overall. You guys know that I haven't been big on these living story updates for a while. I've criticized the overuse of Zerg content, strongly questioned their method of balancing encounters, all that sort of thing, but in my opinion, this one is worth experiencing. If you're from a server with a small population, or at least a small PvE population, I'd highly recommend guesting over to one of the more populated servers and having a go at it there. It's absolutely brutal if you have to run it with only a couple of people, but in a mini-zerg of 8 or 10 players, it's a lot of fun. I don't typically say this, but if you are burned out on the game and you've been waiting for something in PvE with a different flavor to it, do me a favor and give this one a go. Maybe I'm just biased because of the nostalgia that it recalls in me, but my first impressions of this patch are really positive. Obviously, your mileage may vary, and I reserve the right to change my opinion if it turns out that I just lucked out and got the perfect group size to enjoy it, and it's actually mostly a giant fail fest, but yeah, that's where I'm at it at the moment. As usual, I'd love to hear what you guys think of it, whether you're having fun with it, what you like, what you wish was different, all that stuff. So if you feel like joining a discussion, go ahead and sound off in the comments below. And not to dwell on this or anything, but for the sake of solidarity with you guys, yes, I hate the new comment system just as much as you, for the record. We're in this struggle together. Chin up, guys, we'll get through this. Okay, good talk. Anyway, this is the part where I typically riff on some certain aspect of the content that's on my mind, but I kind of want to do things a bit differently today, so hopefully you guys are cool with it. kind of want to put the ball in your court this time around. Recall I mentioned that one of the reasons I really like this update is because it feels like a modernization of an old school MMO concept, and I feel like actually, overall, that's kind of one of the things that Guild Wars 2 does best. The combat, when you look at it, is a modernization of old school hotkey combat that adds in mobility, combos, and action RPG style dodging, right? It's not like it's something new that just came out of left field completely, it's very much an iterative thing. The new Tequatl fight is their update to the concept of progression-based raid content. Similarly, this update is a modernized version of the old-school EverQuest-style open dungeon, and I feel like it's a really good fit for the game. What I want to know is, what aspects of older games would you like to see modernized and adapted for Guild Wars 2? If you could have just one piece of content, any piece of content from another MMO commissioned by the devs to be put into the game, what would it be? Personally, I'd really love to see a capture the flag style battleground in the vein of Warsong Gulch from World of Warcraft. With the potential to build in a very specialized way and a total lack of dedicated healers to turtle up the match, I feel like the matches would be faster paced, more interesting, and far more worth repeating than in WoW. What would do it for you guys? Let me know in the comments. That's all I've got for you today, folks. Just a quick casual tease here, but there's going to be a lot more coming to the channel between now and Christmas, both Guild Wars 2 and otherwise, so keep your eyes on this space. Click like if you enjoyed it, sub if you haven't already, and have a tremendous day. Much love to each and every one of you. Stay black.